everyone. I'm doing something a little different today. I'm doing a league replay. Hopefully the replay system doesn't bug out on me. I recorded 10 minutes and it already bugged on me, so hopefully the second time it goes a little better. But I am a huge advocate of this Gruul deck, and I'm a huge advocate of running zero pillage. I guess I approach it more of a mid-range philosophy, and I feel like pillage doesn't really accomplish to the board state. Like, yeah, you can get free wins from the pillage, but I'd rather have a little bit more of a consistent card than a card that's such a high ceiling, low floor. Because when you top deck a pillage late game, it just does nothing. And with the meta right now, with like Bant Snow and like Sultai Snow being like the best deck arguably, and big mana like Tron and Amulet and Valka kind of on the downswing, pillage just doesn't seem well positioned. Like I see all these Ponza players streaming Ponza, and they board out pillage every game. And then against like the big mana decks, like we already just slammed Blood Moon against them. It's pretty good. So I feel like we don't need to get percent points against those, and the free win percentage with pillage is just not enough for me to want it, because I'll top deck a pillage and it just doesn't really do much. I don't think there's enough Stoneblade or scales for the artifact part of the card to be relevant. But that's just my opinion. Obviously, you want to play pillage. If you want to get those free range, you can. I just want to be a little more consistent with my deck. Other notables, I'm testing a 1-up Questing Beast. I had 2 Chandras, but I'm testing a 1-1 split, and I've been really liking the Questing Beast, so I might keep the 1-1 split. I really like the 2 Ren, smooths out our land drops, our draws, and kind of just makes a mini set game for our opponent to deal with the Ren. Also great in the mirror. And then the sideboard, I just have like a 3rd Blood Moon, a 5th Blood Moon effect in the 75. I think having 5 Blood Moon effects are good, especially since I don't run pillage against those big mana decks. So having 5 effects is really good. I have 1 Veil of Summer. I had 2 chokes, but Veil of Summer is just so good, and it's bad with Bloodbraid Elf, which is why I kind of only want 1, which is kind of a weird number. But just testing it out, and we'll see how it goes. 2 Grafter's Cage, Concession to Neoform, and then just bail off because of midrange and burn. But yeah, let's start this off. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully the replay cooperates. I know sometimes it doesn't. Whenever I do these replays, there's always one match that gets really buggy. Start off with an Arbor Elf. It's kind of an awkward hand because we don't have anything cast on turn 2. We do have a lot of 3-drops that we can cast. That being said, the card that I was most scared of here is Smallpox, because then we just lose 2 mana sources essentially, and then our hand is like almost uncastable, like literally uncastable right now for 2 more turns. And then they discard this Nether Spirit, which is a pretty cool card. I didn't realize it was modern legal, but now my opponent has a clock, and I can't cast any spells, and it's turn 4. So luckily my Bloodbraid Elf dodges an Inquisition here, but unluckily opponent has 3 rack effects. And then here it's kind of awkward because like I could either like just hold my cards and like not do anything, but then I just die to this Nether Spirit. So I figured I'd just play this Bloodbraid Elf, and hopefully my opponent doesn't have another discard spell, and I can kind of just not sandbag my cards and hopefully draw out of this somehow, some way. Maybe draw Clothis and kind of just recoup the life loss from this Nether Spirit. My opponent casts a Liliana, and that's it. Can't beat 3 rack effects with 1 card in hand. So on to game 2. On the play, mulligan a hand that had no 1-drops and 2 4-drops, which is kind of awkward. Here I could lead off with Sprawl or Aura Elf, but I figured I would just have the higher seeding play just in case. And if my opponent spends turn 1 fail pushing my elf, that's fine. And worst case scenario, like I can still cast a card on turn 2, which is Cindervines. But I do get punished. I get my Clothis not seized. So I do kind of need the top of the deck to help, and Bloodbraid Elf delivers. Here it's kind of interesting. Whenever you cascade into a Bunker Giant on an empty board, you're like, should I stomp? Should I cast a creature half? And in these kind of like decks where I need a race, I found out that like from a value perspective, you kind of want to play the Stomp and then cast the Bone Crusher Giant. But like I feel like in a match where I'm already hellbound against two rack effects, I want to just deal as much damage as I can. So I figured just to cast the Giant and just try to deal and just start attacking. My replays isn't starting to back out a little bit, but here we go. So Opponent has a Dismember on my Bloodbraid Elf. Here we just pump up our Giant a little bit, since we're not really gonna do anything, and then worst case scenario, like my opponent has to deal like damage on this turn, or on my upkeep with these 2 triggers on the stack and just blow with Cinderbines. So Keswick Wolfman on the surface looks like it didn't do much, but being able to just kill them with the Cinderbines with these on the stack, like I could have died to 3 rack effects if I didn't Keswick Wolfman my Bone Crusher Giant. So like it's kind of like subtle, like yeah, like it technically wouldn't matter because I would have had lethal anyway, but like my opponent had an extra rack trigger. To just sideboarding, I sideboard out my 2 Blood Moons, 2 Maguses, and a Glorybringer. They have enough swamps to kind of go off. I could say arguments for like against Urborg, but I feel like I just want to go aggro on them. I don't want these just dead cards sitting in my hand and in play. So here I on the draw, you would instinctively think, oh, I'm gonna go turn 1 Utopia Sprawl, but I don't want to get smallpoxed, and I don't want to lose 2 mana sources. So here, that's where I actually cast both Utopia Sprawls on turn 2. So that way, if they do end up smallpoxing me, I don't lose any of my Utopia Sprawls, and then I can just cast my Bloodbraid Elf. And the line that would hurt against double Utopia Sprawl in the forest is against Ghost Quarter, which you saw game 1. So that's why the second Utopia Sprawl was kind of iffy on, but the third one I definitely put on the stopping ground. My opponent casting an Ensnaring Bridge is kind of annoying. I could play this Keswick Wolf Run to try to just get more damage in, but like I figured I'd rather just keep as many cards in my hand against 2 rack effects already in play. So here, if I didn't draw the Clothis, I would have just Keswick Wolf Run my Elemental token. But instead, my Clothis is just gonna just start draining for 2. Just keep cards in my hand. It's not going to cast or play anything. I ended up playing this Keswick Wolf Run here just to deal 4 damage. I feel like that was worth it, especially if I still have 4 cards in hand, so I still don't lose to like a Thoughtseize effect off the top. So here my opponent casts a Smallpox finally. So I actually sack the Stommer or the Utopia Sprawl on it, because if my opponent ever draws in the Ensnaring Bridge, then I can attack and deal 2 more damage here. Or 1 more damage. Oh yeah, 2 more damage, I guess, essentially. But my opponent Thoughtseized me and saw that this Cloth is just eventually just going to win the game and can't kill me from 22 life. So Clothis is, if you haven't noticed, like Clothis has just been one of my favorite cards. I think that's the card that has literally drawn me to this deck. It's a card that just sits there and just wins the game. It's like a mini Siege Rhino every turn where you're just draining for 2 every turn. 1 lander on the first hand, so I'm mulling it, and I have a lot of mana sources. I can ramp a lot. So Keswick Wolf Run's good draw here when I want to go aggro. So I just put all my sprawls in a forest and cast a Bone Crusher Giant on turn 2. So this is against Ad Nauseam. Opponent suspends Lotus Plume on turn 1. And City Brass here is actually the card that helps us out a lot, because here we just attack, and I give my Bone Crusher Giant +5, +5, it gets 9 power. So that way, now this City Brass is like lethal now. So I actually have a turn 4 kill here with a Bone Crusher Giant, which is absurd. My opponent slams a Phyrexian on life, so it's actually not lethal. Opponent goes to 0, but that means that a land off the top makes me have lethal this turn. If my opponent did have Ad Nauseam, then he would win the game here. But luckily I top deck the land, and I deal 10 damage with this 1 Bone Crusher Giant, thanks to Keswick Wolf Run. Like I said, the Keswick Wolf Run is a card that just lets me win games I have no business winning. This is a hand where it's just like, yeah, I rammed into a Bone Crusher Giant turn 2. Like, that's not fast enough against a combo deck like Ad Nauseam. But guess what? Like, it is fast enough when I have Kesselbro finally. Like, that was literally a turn 4 kill if my opponent didn't have the unlife that game. Which is just absurd. Which feels good. I mean, winning game 1 against a bad matchup uh, always feels nice. So here I boarded in the other Blood Moon, the 2 Collector Oofs, the 2 Cinder Vines, shave the 1 Ren 6 and a couple bolts and a couple Scavenging Ooze. Here the game plan is kind of like the ideal game plan here is like turn 1 Dork if you have it, but it's not necessary. But going like turn 2 Collector, turn 3 Blood Moon, and they can't win because they literally can't cast any spells. Like they don't have basic Plains or basic Swamp to win the game. So ideally, like you would have a Collector Roof, or ideally you'd have a Cinder Vines if you can kill their enchantments or their mana. But like top decking this Magus of the Moon is just so clutch. Because that way you just have that turn, like a two card combo essentially that Ad Nauseam can't win, unless they have like a Dismember in the sideboard or something. But here now they literally just can't cast any spells. And what's cute is they have 2 Lotus Blooms that is suspended, and this Cindervides triggers off the cast, which is really funny. And they can't even like activate this Lotus Bloom. So here we just send it with the team. Ren 6. Just dealing 1 damage, like whatever. So here, like I cast a Seasoned Pyromancer because if I top deck a Bolt, I win the game there, and that's kind of what you want to think about. It's like how do I, if you're in a position like this, it's like how do I lose the game, right? If there's nothing you can really play around where you lose the game, you can't like protect your creatures or your spells or anything. It's like how do I win the game now? And that's the line I took where I cast a Seasoned Pyromancer, leave a 2 mana red source, being one of them, to bolt plus cast a Cinder Vines to destroy Lotus Bloom. I didn't, but it didn't matter. But it's like stuff like that where you kind of want to think about, where like you don't want to give your combo opponent 1 more turn. So here you go. So here we have a turn 2 Blood Moon, which obviously always feels good. So again, when you see Shelter Thicket, you think of Valakut. So that's where you're really happy to see a Blood Moon on turn 2 on the play. Especially if they played a tapped Shelter Thicket, you hope they don't have a basic forest in hand. You can kind of just win the game that way. And here it goes back to match 1, where you were like, should I like try to get value off this Stomp, or should I just play the creature half? And like, when I first started playing this deck, I always have to get value. I always have to Stomp first and then get the Bone Crusher Giant down. But in reality, it's good to... You really have to think about it. It's actually a valid question of which half you should play. In a matchup like this where you just want to race, you just play the creature and just bash for 4. And sometimes it's just that simple. So I think that's the mistake that I made when I first started playing this deck, is I never casted the creature half first. I've always just stomped. And then cast the creature. And I think that's where it might have been okay with Obosh. Because like you kind of like stomp and then you can like make up that tempo by just dealing 8 damage with the Stomp Bone Crusher Giant. But now that you don't have that burst of damage all of a sudden in the end game, you kind of have to be a little more thoughtful with how you can deal damage faster, because you can't make it up later, if that makes sense. So here I did very light sideboarding. I just boarded in that 1 Blood Moon and boarded out the Scavenging Ooze. I could also see an argument for boarding out the Ren 6, but figured Ren 6 and Scavenging is kind of a wash. I think I want the smoothest of mana just in case, worst case scenario, I guess is my logic. Here, my opponent led on basic forest, which is kind of weird. So now we can turn to questing base, kind of get our clock going. The Arbor of Utopia Sprawl combo is just great. Here I always like to compare the card that I cut for the card that I cut. And I cut the Chandra for the questing base, and I guess you can argue between if Chandra or questing base would have been better, because I could have answered this option to be allowed with it. But I think being able to Stonewall it also feels nice. Um, it's going to slam the Clothis. This game actually becomes very, very interesting. And I actually posted this a screenshot from this game on Twitter where I'm pretty sure I punted. But this Baloth ends up stonewalling my whole team except for this Clothis. There's a turn here coming up where I feel like I misplayed pretty bad. But I kept playing Duders out because I wanted to make sure I have enough devotion. I don't want to like get bolted like Bolt a Magus or something, and all of a sudden I don't have devotion. So I do want to be a little worried about Anger the Gods. I do assume that they would board it in. So the thing about it is my opponent is also playing really, 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 really slow. My opponent literally takes, I think, like almost 2 minutes trying to like pay for their pack. So I think that actually ends up punishing them. The card that actually saves them here is this Corsair Kugrix, because now they can kind of keep up with this Clothis drain. Like Clothis isn't just going to eventually win. Like we're actually just like they're actually just like netting even on life, essentially. So I play this tracker and I end up stomping it. I don't want them to just keep being able to draw cards and just like I want to draw like I'm not gonna gain any card advantage. I don't want to get over drowned by card advantage, I guess, in a sense. I'm not sure if that's correct, but that was my thought process here. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to what's on top of my opponent's library, but this is a play where I kind of regret. I end up playing Glorybringer here, but I know my opponent drew a Beast Within, if you just pay attention to what's on top of my opponent's library thanks to this Corsair. I figured I would just attack with the Glorybringer and just get a Beast Within, so that way I get the Beast token if my opponent ever wanted to just try to crack back, especially with another Primal Titan looming. I feel like that might have been wrong. Maybe I would want my opponent to try to like Beast Within something, like maybe Beast Within a questing beast, and then I can deploy my Glorybringer when it's safe. Because it's like they're like the best target they have for Beast Within is the Glorybringer, and like with the Corsair in play, like I needed to be able to deal bursts of damage. So that's why maybe I should just held it and like just literally just held the Glorybringer the whole game until they end up casting the Space Within. I feel like that's where I might have misplayed it there. I don't know. But I think this is the turn. No, it's probably the next turn. So like I literally really can't attack. My opponent really can't attack either. I have like a 4/4 with Death Touch, a 4/5 that can block and trade. I know what they're drawing, so there's no hidden information. Like they can't bluff a removal spell to block another blocker. So it's really interesting. Like I've never. So this is a turn where I feel like I misplayed. And I posted that turn on Facebook or on Twitter, sorry, where I attacked with this questing beast. I think that's probably the worst line I could have taken. So if you do the math, if you keep the Baloth on board, well, I mean, essentially this is a wash. I feel like they would do that block there, that trade. I feel like the most optimal block is, and I talked about this in multiple Facebook chats, you attack with everything. If you do the math, they end up going to 3. So this Bonecrusher Giant is not lethal. They have a Summoner's Pact in hand in this spot. So I could have stomped. I think the best line I could have taken was stomp the Corsair, play my Bonecrusher Giant. They would. They have Summoner's Pact in hand, so they would probably either. If they have another Corsair, that's really bad for us because then I think we lose the game there. If they have another Titan, then we're okay because they have no way to gain life. And we can just go wide at that point because they're at 3. And then they can't kill us at 33 life. If they have another Corsair, then that's just a game-losing line. And I feel like Corsair is the type of card where they have more than one. I feel like Corsair just isn't a one of in the sideboard. In my opinion, I don't know. If this was open decklist, it would change everything. But I think so. But I feel like there's also an argument for just keeping back and just like turtle shelling and just like I have a army of creatures and you can't. Eventually you're going to run out of lands to search with Primeval Titan, and this Clothis will eventually win the game. Eventually. I took the worst line, I think, because I think the best line is attack with everything, stomp the courser, and hope they don't have another courser. If you assume they have another courser, if not, then that's probably the worst line. The next best line is probably just to sit back. And I took the worst line, I think, out of everything and just attack with a questing beast, because then like they just effectively trade here, and now I don't have any like scary blocks. Like I have to trade down to deal with a Primeval Titan. I'm holding this Bone Crusher Giant. I don't know if there's like another tracker that might come. And I don't need to commit more to the board. So my opponent has Escape Shift on top, so he just plays another Primeval Titan, and then he just gains a bunch of life back. So this Courser gains a lot of life. Opponent gets another Primeval Titan, so they have the 4 kind of Primeval. This is like such an insane game against Valakut. Usually when you play against Valakut, you either die or you win. Like there's no in between. There's never a board state where like you stall because Valakut just eventually kills you. So this game is just insane. So losing this Questing Beast hurts pretty bad. Because I want to trade my Questing Beast with a Primeval Titan, not an Obstinate Bailoff. The Bailoff you can just Stonewall the Clothis, or even like a Bone Crusher Giant trades with it. So we kind of just twiddle our thumbs back and forth here for quite a bit. The reason why I attacked with Questing Beast 2 turns ago, by the way, is also because I kind of went tunnel vision into I need to keep draining with Clothis. And there's no non-land cards in the graveyard, so I'm like, this Questing Beast, like literally, if I take a Questing Beast, like my opponent is very incentivized to block, and I knew they're gonna block with the Obstinate Bailoff, and I'm like, it's fine. I just need something in the graveyard, and I didn't really think bigger into the game. I didn't like this. There's a lot going on, and this is the worst play. I think I could make it. And then I see Anger of the Gods off the top, and my heart sunk, because that's when I knew I am probably gonna lose this game, because my opponent just explores into it, and luckily my Skoos can survive this Anger of the Gods, but I don't have enough power on the crackback. I also see an argument for. So my Clothis is also turned off. I don't know why my opponent didn't attack either. My opponent just kind of played really, really awkwardly. But it ended up not mattering, per se. Because now my opponent is just really, really down on time. Now I'm kind of curious if my opponent did have the other Courser. Because if he did, then I would probably lose anyway. And if he didn't, I probably would have won. Could have just gone wide. My opponent has no way to gain life, and the Clothis would have won me the game. So here it's like, do I trade my Skoos for a Primeval Titan? Essentially, I can trade. And it's kind of an awkward answer, because I guess I kind of need. Like, if my Ransix somehow dies, then like I don't have enough devotion to keep my Clothis alive. But this ends up being a insane game, and I don't know if it's worth saving time. My opponent just keeps going wide. I don't draw anything relevant. I draw a bolt. I can like here I bolt the Courser. I think that's also another misplay where like I run in 6 the Courser plus bolt it. I think it would have been a smarter play to block a Primeval Titan, bolt it, and eat it with Scavenging Ooze. Take 18. Now I have a Clothis that can block a Primeval Titan, and that Scavenging Ooze actually profitably block. But like at that point, I was like, oh, I was like so tunnel vision. I gotta win with Clothis. Clothis is my only way to win. But I feel like I could have drawn out the game more, made my opponent have no good attacks. So I play this game really bad, and I kind of want to explain the possible lines as to what I did wrong. So then like I personally learn from it, and then also just if you're watching this video to learn from this as well. Because I feel like when you treat this as a prison deck and you're just like, oh, I'm just gonna slam Blood Moon and Pillage my opponent and win the game, haha, it's like there's actually more intricacies to this deck, and it's when you treat it as a more mid-range deck, there is a lot more details that go on that you can't really ignore. So I just die here. And then my opponent only has 20 seconds left, so my opponent just ended up timing out, which is unfortunate for my opponent, but it's a good matchup, I think, for us. Um, so on to the fourth match. Here we have turn 2 Blood Red Elf, and this is, I feel like I was just running hot this lead because this is like what the third time I had Utopia Sprout and Arbor Elf, and neither of them died. So going turn 2 Blood Red Elf is like the dream with this deck because you can just go total aggro. And that's the thing about this deck, like, what, you go turn 2 Tarmogoyf with BGX, it's like, alright, that's not that scary. Like, turn 2 Blood Red Elf is pretty scary. And again, I hit another Bone Crusher Giant, where it's like, do I want to play Stomp, or do I want to cast Bone Crusher Giant? And it's like, I don't know what I don't know what I'm playing against Floodstrand, but I'm going to commit to the board as much as I can, because if they have a Wrath, it's going to be on turn 4, and it's going to be too slow. I'd rather just go all aggro. I kind of don't draw much here. Now I'm starting to flood a little bit. Hopefully the start we have is enough. I'm going to cast an Ice-Fang Quaddle. And surprisingly trades with the Arbor Elf. I'm surprised. I don't know if they should have just chumped the Bunkers Giant to save some life. Because they would have been 11. Now it's like I could have... now they just died to any burn spell off the top. But I guess it didn't matter. They just die to our aggro plan. And I think that's the thing about this deck is like, I like how you can fit so many hats. You can play the control deck, you can play the aggro deck, you can play a destruction prison deck with Blood Moon. And I think that's kind of the beauty of a mid-range deck where like you can play multiple roles. And the deck it is good at these multiple roles. It's a good control deck if you just want Turtle Shell with and hide behind Clothis. So here we mulligan a one-lander, I think, if I saw the replay correctly. But we have a turn 2 Blood Moon. But we got our Utopia Scroll forced. They pitched a Ice-Fang Quaddle, which is actually good to see. Ice-Fang Quaddle is probably one of the most annoying cards to face against for us. But our hand's pretty stocked. We can go Blood Moon into Seasoned Pyromancer. Our opponent plays fetches for a breeding pool, so they're not really playing around Blood Moon very well. So they can feel the ruin, but I don't know. It's kind of awkward. So here, I kind of want to take a second to talk about the mana base of this deck. I don't know if people are new, but here I had Stomping Ground and Forest, and I had a fetch land. I felt like when with Obosh, you had 4 Kitchen Finks, so then you want to get the second Forest. But now that you don't have any double green, unless you have Scavenging Ooze, obviously if you have Scavenging Ooze, you want double green. But more often than not, against these type of, like, just over 80%, 85% of the time, you just want to get another Stomping Ground or another Mountain if you're going to cast Blood Moon. There's no point in taking the 2 extra damage. Because now you're more double red heavy, you kind of want to go more red more than anything. And that's just something to think about when you're fetching and when you're just playing this deck. Now my opponent fetched a Snow Cover Forest, which is interesting, especially because the deck is more blue based. I don't know. Now this choke's kind of awkward because it doesn't really do anything here, and that's also why I don't like having 2 choke, and that's why I was like, I'm just gonna try 1 choke, 1 Veil of Summer. I didn't draw the Veil of Summer this game, but I think that's why. Like I think choke isn't as good because of Astrolabe. They can get away with just fetching the other basics. And that's why I don't like choke as much. I still think choke is good. I still think you can get your opponent with choke, but I don't think I want to. So Brandon 6 also just can take over the game here. Brandon 6 is just absurd. So this is like one of those games, like, why I love Brandon 6 as well. I'm gonna take a second here. Because like against these kind of matchups, you can slam a Brandon 6 and just like keep plussing, and it comes to the point where like they have to deal with this card. Otherwise, you ultimate and you don't. That's why you never set out all your lightning bolts. If you keep in Ren 6, because you want a way to punish your opponent with the emblem. You have no other instance or source. I don't think you have any sorcerers in that period, but you don't want any. You don't want to be naked with instance. You want to be able to kill your opponent with with the emblem. So here the Dream Cascade here. The equivalent of a BBE into a Liliana Cascade is a BBE into a Seasoned Pyromancer. And here it's kind of interesting on what you want to discard here. I think I remember, like looking at it right now, I don't remember what I did, but I think I discard the choke and the land. That's what I would do now. I don't know if that's what I did. That's kind of just looking at, oh, I discarded the Bone Crusher Giant. That's interesting. I think choke is doing nothing here, so I think that's actually a bad play on my part. Especially because like the Bone Crusher Giant can give us reach, especially with this Renin 6, we can actually just start taking down. But either way, we have lethal here, so um, yeah, we just like aggroed out our Bant Snow opponent, which is great with a little bit of disruption. So it's like Blood Moon just disrupts, and you just aggro them out with Blood Red Elf. So it's great. um, so last match, playing for the 5-0. Spoiler, obviously we trophied. So if you look at this hand, if you know you're against Tron, this is obviously an easy mulligan. And I feel like a lot of people, I don't know, I see a lot of Ponce players, they like mulligan these type of hands. And I don't know why. Like, if you just ignore Tron, like, ignore the matchup, right? Like, if it's just against the blind, even if we're on the draw, like, obviously, like, our deck's a little clunky and we want to have a one-man accelerant. We want a Utopia Sprawl or Arbor. But I feel like when you have an opener, when you have either a Renin 6 or a Bone Crusher Giant, so you're not doing anything on turn 2, I think it's a keep, especially if your rest hand is gas. Like, I think this hand is good enough to where, like, if we're against like a control deck, if this Renin 6 resolves and just keeps blessing, it'll eventually win the game. And then like we don't need to aggro out our Jund opponent, our Bant Snow opponent, our Sultai opponent. That's not our primary game plan. And if anything, those type of decks that are Renin 6 is going to win the game for us. This Clothis is going to win. Like this hand will win the game for us. It's unfortunate that I got matched up against Tron, but like I feel like a lot of people are just too aggressive with their mulligans, and I can see the mindset of like, oh, I want a one-man accelerant because Modern is so fast, but I feel like if you're like we're a mid-range deck and we can't really afford to mulligan aggressively in that aspect because I feel like a deck like Abs and Company or Devoted Jerd where like you need to combo, and if you're against Tron, if you don't combo off on turn 3, like you're probably dead, right? Like they just oog in your Karn your key piece. So like we really we really don't need to do that essentially. But that being said, obviously this hand is awful. And here I think I missed. So my opponent obviously has Tron. So I was actually thinking really hard. I was like, should I even play this Renin 6? Because I kind of want to disguise what deck I'm playing. Because Whisper Teeth and Forest doesn't say much. Like, it could be Abzan, it could be Devoted Druid, it could be anything, right? If we were a Devoted Druid, it is kind of weird that we didn't play a 1-drop. So like, I can see that being kind of fishy, like on the opposing side. But I feel like getting a Stomping Ground with this and getting Renin 6 just completely what's the word? Just like reveals what we're on. So I feel like I'm going to lose this game. I don't have a Blood Moon in hand. I either need a Blood Moon off the top, and my opponent has nothing, which is kind of hard to believe. So my opponent casts a Thought-Knot Seer, and I want to hide what I'm playing. So I end up just conceding here. But I looked at my next card, and it ends up being a Magus of the Moon. So I was like really kicking myself. I'm like, dang, maybe I should have just played it out. And I had Renin 6 in play. I could have played a Clothis. My opponent probably attacked still on the Renin 6. And next turn I try to Bloodbraid Elf into something. Sorry, so I Renin 6, I play the Magus, and then hopefully I Bloodbraid Elf into something. But I just feel like I need it. So I don't know. I feel like maybe I conceded too early. I think this is also an interesting line. But maybe I was just like, I'm probably just going to lose this game. Maybe I thought that too early. But I don't know. I feel like there was a lot of value keeping what I play a secret. I think there's some merit there. I don't know if I'm right or wrong. But I would like to see what my opponent thought. I mean, I would love to contact this person and be like, what did you think about this play? Because like if my opponent has natural Tron and if I don't draw Blood Moon, if I don't draw a Blood Moon on this next turn, I'm not winning this game. well, I guess if I cast this Ren 6 and then I draw a land back and I cast a Seeking Paradise, I guess I could see where I can go off. But if I don't have a Blood Moon on the next turn, like my opponent's probably like I'm such a low percentage to win this game. It's not zero. It's definitely higher than maybe I probably thought it would be. But I think it's just an interesting scenario there that maybe I can think about and discuss more. Maybe I threw in the towel too early. Maybe that's not how I should really be playing. But what are you gonna do? So this hand, I have an aggro. I turn 2 Bone Crusher Giant, turn 3 Bloodbraid Elf. Hopefully that's enough against Tron. Sometimes it is. Sometimes I just have a turn 3 card, and like that's not good enough against a hand like this. And especially with Thought-Nuts here, they might just be on Eldrazi Tron, and if they're on Eldrazi Tron, like that's probably just fine. Cascading into a Colossus is pretty good. So then we just have 7, 8, 9, 11, 12, like almost lethal. So they don't have natural Tron, so we're just lucky there. So we just cast Bloodbraid Elf and cascade into a Blinding Bolt for the win. So we kind of got lucky there. We have a turn 4 kill. like casually, this mid-range deck can kill on turn 4. And another argument for the Bloodbraid Elf, like Bloodbraid Elf was just like I haven't played this deck pre-Companion, so like post when Obosh got nerfed, Bloodbraid Elf was the first time. It was my first time playing Bloodbraid Elf in this archetype, and oh my god, she's pretty good. There's no reason why she was banned, to say the least. I mean, she definitely died for Deathward Shaman Sins, but I mean, like there is some merit onto it getting banned. Here, sideboarding wise, I boarded out the Skoos, an Elf, and a Lightning Bolt, and I just started trimming some cards. I think I boarded in these Cinder Vines. You probably like check out easier. Cinder Vines, Collector Oof, the Blood Moon. So like I brought those in and then just kind of started trimming. There's nothing like arguably really bad against them. So like I just trimmed here, trimmed a Bolt, trimmed an Elf, and trimmed 2 Skoozes, because Skoozes are pretty weak. Here, like, we have a 1-lander with a on the draw, but we do have turn 2 Blood Moon. Oh, this is a Mulligan, too. So, yeah, I definitely kept this hand. Hopefully we just have a land off the top, which, thank God we do. So here I was hoping to hit a Collector. Ooh, that would just be absolutely absurd, but obviously we don't. Here, if you're new to the deck, you obviously fetch a force with the Sprawl, and then if you have a duel or a fetch in hand with the Blood Moon, you want to make sure you fetch to get your second green source if you need it. And more often than not, it's nice to have 2 green sources. Generally, you want 2 forests. Ideal situation is you have 2 forests, one of the forests is Sprawl, and then you have just duels or fetches with the Blood Moon in play. So you have 2 green sources and everything else is red. That's the ideal situation. Just if you're just new to the deck and you're not really sure how to fetch or how to single your lands. And that's something that I kind of learned on the fly. It's not as intuitive as you think if you've played this deck for forever. So Bloodbraid Elf into another Blood Moon, which is reassuring. If they try to Nature's Claim a Blood Moon. Here I hope to draw a land, because then we just Glorybringer and then have lethal. But we do not. We cast a Bloodbraid Elf and then catch a Colossus, which is fine. As a Colossus is now, we have enough devotion to turn it on. But here, even still, we have lethal this turn because we just Glorybringer plus Bolt. And that's a turn 5 kill. Like this is absurd that like this kind of deck can just kill with disruption so fast. So here we just attack for 11, and I wasn't sure what to play around, so I just upkeep both of them. I don't know if that's correct. I figured if they have anything, I'd rather just have them spend their mana on this turn. Yeah, that's it. That's the league. Hopefully I didn't take too long. I didn't want this video to be too long. But I really like this list right now. I don't think I would change anything. I'm still testing out the Veil of Summer, quote unquote, but I think I'd rather have it over a choke. I could also see this just being a boil. But I think Veil of Summer is too good not to run it. As long as new form is legal, I have 2 Gafter's Cage as my form of Yard Hate. Oofs are great. I like 2 Sweepers, 2 Angers. I can see this Bailoff being cut for something. I can see 1 Bailoff being anything else. I can see Obstinate Bailoff actually being a Weather of the Storm. Because if there is a lot of Storm online, which I've noticed, we're kind of naked to it. Where you just need like the Cinder Vines, and then we burn the Angers for the empty Warrens tokens. You just have Yard Hate. We're in the 1 Veil of Summer. And then hope they just on the empty the Warrens tokens, and we just empty the Warrens plan and they just anger them. Hopefully we have Yard Hate to stop the Grape Shot plan. It's not very reliable. So I can see like cutting 1 Bailoff for Weather of the Storm, but I just feel like Weather of the Storm is just so narrow. Because like even against like Burn or Prowess, it's like it's okay. I'd rather have something that's just like that does both. That's like a win con and kind of like a stabilizer. But yeah, this deck's great. I like this list. Please don't play Pillage. I'm so anti-Pillage in this deck because it's a mid-range deck. Like I don't know. I just feel like people want free wins, and I understand that. But like your floor is just so low on that card because like even in the mirror, like people are like, oh yeah, Pillage is good in the mirror, and it is good in the mirror. When you especially when you like have a sprawl and they just like blow you out, they like 2-for-1 you, and like you lose tempo, you lose card advantage, you lose your mana surge, you lose everything. So I see why you want Pillage in this meta because this deck is tier 1. I just feel like against every other deck that's tier 1 right now, like Bant Snow, Sultai, you just don't want Pillage in your deck. So, and it's just like, and even in the mirror, like there's plenty of times where I play the mirror, and we just trade back and forth, and it's like turn 6 or whatever. And I have a Clothis in play with a red and 6, and they have a Pillage, and I'm like, that's fine. I still have all my mana sources. I have a Ren in 6. I have a Clothis if I need mana. Like it's just the Pillage, like, and it's just being a dead card. And you can't afford dead cards in a mid-range deck. And this is a mid-range deck. I treat this as a mid-range deck. And I see other Ponza players treat it as a prison deck. And if you want to treat it as a prison deck, I guess that's fine. Maybe I'm just blind and jaded and I want to be a little more on the mid-range side of things. So I guess I think it just comes down to playstyle. So, but yeah, if you follow my stream, my YouTube channel, I'm a mid-range player, so obviously I'm not going to play Pillage. But yeah, I hope you guys appreciate this content. I wish I streamed this, like that would have been great, but I've noticed that like I've been experimenting with like random cards on stream with this deck, and I like go 2-3 and 3-2. So I wanted to post content where I trophy, right? Because I've trophied a lot with this deck, so it's like it's nice to throw that content out there as well, and also show plays where like I felt like this league was really interesting, where it showed the power of Blood Braid off. It showed the decisions you have with Bone Crusher Giant. Do you want to stomp? Do you want to play the creature half? Which has come up multiple times. Is Questing Beast good? There's multiple plays in that Scape Shift matchup where like you'd be like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna slam a Blood Moon and win the game. It's like that's not true. Like there's still combat involved, and I played that deck, played that game really really bad, right? Like I want to show that kind of content because then I can learn from it. I can watch my replays. I can learn from it, and I can have other people learn from how shitty I played. So, yeah, I hope you guys appreciate it. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, hey, you also fucked this lineup, Kev, post in the comments, or you guys can also message me on Twitter. But if you want to support my content, you guys can follow me on YouTube, follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/KODiamonds, and follow me on Twitter. That's twitter.com/KODiamonds22, 22 at the end of it. But yeah, I appreciate it. Hope you guys enjoy this content. Please stay safe. Please stay healthy. And I hope to catch you guys soon. Talk to you later. Bye.